Welcome to You, But Better. Interviews.
We interview the most brilliant thinkers and highest achieving badasses on the face of the planet.
I have a dream that one day
there is an indefinable, mysterious power.
70 years ago.
Friends, Romans, countrymen.
You are the light of the world.
It's not just an interview.
It's the interview.
You, but better.
Hello, Better Yous, and welcome to another fantastic interview with one of the greatest, most influential minds in the world of professional wrestling. Lex, I got to tell you, I have not been this excited for an interview in a really long time.
Seph, I am kind of freaking out right now. I honestly think this is going to be the best interview we've ever done. I am so freaking psyched right now.
Lex, it's really insane because this is probably the first time we've had somebody on the podcast where I actually had a poster of this person on my wall when I was a kid.
That is amazing. So our guest today is Kay Fabian, one of the most interesting professional wrestling managers of all time. She has promoted wrestlers all over the country, from bingo halls to Madison Square Garden. She personally launched the careers of such wrestlers as Banna the Bandanna Man and three-time tag team champions, the Dingus Patrol. Guys, Kay has recently retired from management and written the New York Times bestseller, and I absolutely love this book. It's called Heels to Your Face, A Guide to Dismantling Your Enemies with Vengeance and Grace. Kay is an expert in psychology and tactics, teaching people everywhere how to fight back against attacks of all kind, whether it's a mugger or a terrorist or an emotional terrorist or just a difficult boss or colleague.
Wow.
Kay's book was recently an Oprah's book club selection, and the New York Times has called it the Anarchist Cookbook meets Chicken Soup for the Soul. Also, Kay was recently inducted into the Professional Wrestling Manager and Valet Hall of Fame, where she was rewarded with a statue of herself breaking her neck at the Moose Lodge in 1997 at the hands of a very worked-up hillbilly Jack. Kay Fabian is here to show us how to harness the psychology of the ring and apply it to real life. Kay, welcome to You But Better.
Welcome.
Hi, hun. Hi. It's so nice to meet you two fellas. I've heard so much about you, and I appreciate you having my poster on your wall, honey.
We're huge fans.
Huge fan. There's nobody who approached the business quite like you have. There's nobody who comes in with the fervor. And I have to say this, it's not just your fervor, but it's your consistency and your diligence in approaching your work. It's unparalleled.
You have incredible diligence, and you are a true original. We always tell all of our Better Yous that it's important to be original in everything that they do, and I think that you are absolutely a model for that, and that's one of the many reasons we're so glad to have you here. Now, Kay, your past year has been completely wild. Your book has been a runaway bestseller, especially after the Oprah Book Club selection. Did you ever imagine you'd go from managing superstars like Banna the Bandanna Man to writing a bestseller that teaches the every man and every woman how to think and fight like a wrestler?
Well, honey, when I kicked out of the birth canal a little bit early because I like to get a head start on my day, I decided right away. I said, one day I'm going to sneak into Oprah's house up there in that tower in Chicago. Now, I don't like going up north, but when I do, I take my stun gun. And I went in there and I let Oprah know. I said, this book is going to be in your book club because I got smut on you, honey. And I do. That is the key, I think, to life, is try to get smut on everyone so you can hold it against them later and then crawl your way to the top. And I have always had a plan to do that. That's why I emancipated from my parents at the age of 6 and went on the road touring. So, my best advice would be set your goals real early as possible, just like I did.
That's fantastic. I think that everybody could really benefit from getting the best head start that they can give themselves. I mean, there are other people who get head starts that you might not have afforded to you. Maybe you don't have rich parents. Maybe you don't have an interesting uncle who finds a way for you to grow.
Well, honey, you got to abandon your family early. I'm surprised you even said uncle.
I've said that for a long time. You got to abandon your family early.
Just get rid of them. They're just weighing you down, and you got to get a deer blind early.
Oh.
Because if you get a deer blind, you can kind of watch everyone and keep an eye on them, see who's sneaking up on you first.
That's a good point. You also said earlier that, you have to have information on other people, and I think it's important to have as much information about everybody surrounding you because they can help you increase your station in life, and they can also just help you have a better life. And if you know something about them that gets you in the door, you got to take every advantage afforded to you.
You have to use every tool in your belt. A lot of people, they would just, if they wanted to be on Oprah's book club, they would reach out through official channels. They would try to talk to a press person or something. They would get turned down and they would give up. You have to use every tool in that belt. Go get that conversation you want. Now, if any better yous out there are thinking that they are going to find our recording location, the Buddha Pod, and wrangle us into a conversation, the only thing I would say to that is good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
And I'm proud of you boys that you've hermetically sealed yourself into a tree in the Netherlands, because I have thought about doing that myself, just kind of hiding down in a bunker and getting out of town for a little bit. I think it's so bougie. I think it's sweet. And I think it's what you do when you've earned it. And I appreciate you two taking your time from your little sealed away bunkers to talk to me in my little sealed away bunker. I really do appreciate that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, Kay, you have a reputation as being a very hands-on manager. You would often get in the ring and you would spar with your wrestlers and demonstrate moves. Where did you get that style of being so hands-on with your wrestlers? How did that come about?
Well, when I was real little, before I emancipated from my parents,
Sure.
I had an older brother, and he used to just try to choke me out until I'd, pretty much pass out. And what I would do is I'd slip my hands underneath, right? And then I'd try to push his hands off of mine. And once I got him off of me, that's when you just find the closest weapon, honey.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you should approach every situation. Always have a little something under there so that you can kind of get out and weasel your way out and get around them and grab them from behind and German suplex them or cross Canadian destroyer them, maybe a little cross-faced chicken wing, something real tight like that. And the thing is, people are visual. So when you're training a wrestler on how to be evil, fierce, how to really just take all their anger out on someone, you also got to teach them how to pause their brain and be a little sneaky.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to trick them, and I like to tell them, go on in there, go in the ring. I'm going to come in there. We're going to be tag teams, right? And me and you are partners, and we're going to go against these two fellas, and they're about to show up.
Sure.
And I let them get in the ring first. Then what I do is I climb in behind them. I'm standing behind them. Guess what I got? I got a chair. And what I do is I say, hey, turn around there real quick. I want to show you something. Boom. Chair to the temporal lobe. That is CTE, brothers. And what that does is that makes them a little more wild. So later on, perhaps they see this person again who maybe they're angry with.
Sure.
And you just hold that chair up and show them from the side of the ring. And all of a sudden, all that PTSD comes back, kind of like back in Vietnam. And what they do is they have a big old freak out. And when they have a freak out, they take out their opponent. So really what I'm doing by getting in there with them is starting that PTSD early so that I can trigger them later and have them get that title for me, because I make more money that way. I get a cut of everything.
You are remarkably resourceful.
Yeah.
I just have to say that, seeing how you're able to use what is around you, because it is so easy to think, oh, if I only had this, then I could do something that I dreamed of. Oh, I'm one Tesla away from being the person I want to be. But you are able to say, what is around me? I have a chair. I have a belt. How do I use this to my advantage? How do I use my opponent to my advantage?
And you have to be perceptive.
Better use the chair is a metaphor. It does not necessarily have to be a chair. Now, it could be a chair. It could be something else. It could be a cup of tea.
If you have a brick, if you got maybe a boot with some lovely little thumbtacks glued to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I don't know what you guys have for on-hand weapons, But I like to keep a baseball bat, and what I do is I take some razor wire and I wrap it around that baseball bat, and then I keep a little gasoline can so I can light that on fire and just take that to someone if I need to.
Your baseball bat covered in razor wire
Mhm.
could be a book by Eckhart Tolle that teaches you how to be more present.
Yeah, exactly. My weapons are my words.
Sure, it could be some emotional stuff. Yeah, words. Words are the best weapons, honey. You could really hurt a lot of feelings with words. People forget that.
Yeah.
That's another thing. It's like that Eminem said. You got to literally put it all out on the table so that ain't no one can say nothing about you because everybody knows your vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
But then you go on this thing called socialcatfish.com and you
Oh,
go and you
wow.
look up everything you can about them. You go to what's it called? Truth Seekers. You go to all these
Yeah.
different, I think, actually, don't go to that. I think that might be one of them political things. I try to stay out of that. Don't go to that one.
Oh, sure.
What's it called? The Search People, freesearch.net. Now you go,
Oh.
you find all their criminal record, honey. You
Yeah.
pull it out. You keep that smut in your back pocket because one of these days they're going to say something to you and you're going to want to pop up with, well, at least I weren't adopted. And then boom, they're going to lose their minds. And that's when you take advantage of that vulnerability in their mental illness, honey. You just got to be constantly watching out for people who are slipping. That's your whole job.
That is a lot. That is a lot for
smart.
us to take in, but it's also a very, very good point. And in the spirit of putting it all out on the table, you recently retired from a devastating injury.
Mm-hmm. That's moose law.
We heard that you ended up completely fracturing your corn bone. Can you walk us through what happened?
Well, my corn bone was out, and I usually like to cover it before I get out there in the ring. But
Yeah.
on this day, it was a special celebration. It was the 20th anniversary of the Battle of the Swamp.
Oh, yeah.
And what we did was we had to move it out the swamp because poor old Dangle got ate by an alligator one year. So we said we can't have that again. There's too many gators in the swamp. And then we had some meth heads locally. They put some of that there meth in the water. Bunch of wrestlers drank it. Before you know it, they're shutting down the Old Country Buffet. We can't have that happen again. I got in 4 fights at 3 different Dairy Queens that day.
Whoa.
So we said that's enough. We moved it into the Moose Hall. Now, what we didn't realize is that the moose tacos we were serving, the meat had turned a bit. And when that happens, when you get turned moose meat,
Yeah.
it emits a chemical. Now, this is the same chemical that they mix with beaver ass to make vanilla so you can make your fancy little cakes and stuff on the Food Network.
Yeah.
But this specific chemical, when isolated, it creates a somewhat of a flocka effect. And
A flocka
everybody
effect.
yeah, it's called flocka. It's from Florida.
Oh, okay.
And everybody in there was on it. It was basically like a bath salt, if you will.
Wow.
So people was just ripping heads off. It was crazy. Not off human beings, but little birds. It got real messed up. We had to end it very quick.
Sure.
Now, I ended up upside down with my chones over my neck and my back broken.
Wow.
And that was my own damn fault because I came at a few people that I did not realize were my friends. Now, this was all shoot. This was not a work. It was a full-blown exhibition. It reminded me of that Malice in the Palace situation, but it was more like a podge in the lodge, if you feel me. It was bad. So
Oh,
I
my
had to
goodness.
retire. I broke my corn bone twice in 2 different spots. I don't even know what that is, but I trust them doctors because they had glasses.
That totally makes sense.
That sounds totally devastating.
Mhm.
It makes sense. I'm glad that you made sometimes people don't know when to slow down or when to stop or when to direct their potential energy in another direction. And I'm glad that you took it from the ring to the writing room because your book is insanely good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Your book is insanely good, and thank you for giving us the backstory there, because your book does go into some of it. But honestly, I think that hearing the story of what led you to write the book, I think I'm just going to speak for all of us and all better yous, and I just think that everyone relates to that story.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know a lot of people who've done bath salts and broken their corn bones in a moose lodge too, and they always come up to me and they say, "Honey, it's like reading my own words reflected back to me," and it just feels very good.
I bet.
It's nice. Very nice.
It's an unexpected situation. It's what you don't see coming, and it's how you adapt to it and what you bring out of it. Now, for me, it was a Komodo dragon at a poetry slam.
Mm.
Wow, and those are vicious. They will eat a human being.
They're extremely vicious, and I ended up twisting my Achilles.
How did you know about my love for Komodo dragons? Did you do research on me, honey? Are you trying to use my book back on me?
We always do extensive research, and we always use the techniques in the books of the people that we're interviewing. Always. There were some wonderful wrestling phrases that you were going to teach us that we were going to use to relate to our own life. Do you still want to teach us some of those phrases?
You know what? I would love to. I call it the wrestling lexicon or the wrestlicon.
Oh, wow.
Now, what this is it's a variety of vocabulary words that I believe can be applied to shoot life. And let's start with that. So when we're talking wrestling, right, honey?
Yeah.
When we're saying, the world beyond the ring.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is we're talking about shoots. We're talking about what's really going on. So we're talking about a lot of different things that occur outside of the ring. That's called your shoot life.
Oh, yeah.
That shoot, right? Then we've got our work, which is our literal work. So for me, my work life would be being in the ring, banging it up, stun gunning people like a son of a gun.
Oh, yeah.
Filibustering all that she can muster,
Yeah.
just being a real damn hard ass in that ring to get you that title. Now,
Yeah.
your work is this. It's helping other people see their potential so they too can take down their enemy.
Of course.
Exactly. We want people to see their potential, and then we want them to take that potential. We want them to pick it up, put it in a backpack, and run with it.
True, absolutely. So I'm shoot life working it right now. I'm blending together, which is why they call me Kay Fabian, hun. Now let me ask y'all two a question.
Yes.
Is this next phrase, I like to learn just like I get in the ring and learn in my work life.
Yeah.
I like to learn using personal examples.
Of course.
Now, a baby face and a heel. We're going to learn that next.
Okay.
So what a baby face is a baby face is the good guy. He's the one that America loves. He's the one that everybody wants. Typically, he'd be someone with an American flag somewhere on their unitard.
Okay.
And it's okay to say unitard, so don't come at me, Internet. Now,
sure.
The next thing is we've got the heel. The heel is the bad guy, right? He's the villain. He's usually got something like a yin-yang or some fire or a dragon on his unitard.
Oh, wow.
Now, when I look at you two, knowing your shoot background and your work background, I'd have to say one of you is clearly a baby face and one of you is clearly a heel. Now, I want to ask you two, do you know who that is?
I think, personally, I believe that we're both the baby face and we're both the heel. Because I believe in the fundamental, I believe in the duality of life. I believe that we both have a darkness and a light.
Well, that is true. But let's talk about the duality of work and the ring. When you got two people, only one can win, honey. So I'm afraid that while one of you has dark and one of you has light, sure, one of you has a little more than the other. Now, when I look at you, I see a lot of medals again in one's background. Now, that's very Kurt Angle of you.
A real American. Yeah, he's an Olympian.
It's very Olympian of you. Yeah. But then I come over here and I go, well,
that's tough.
My God, it's the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What could be a better baby face, right? But then I remember how Jesus killed all them babies on Easter because people didn't put lamb blood on their door. And I say, well, that's a bit of a heel, sir.
Yeah.
Now, because you wiped out all of humanity, unfortunately, Lex is going to have to be the heel today. And I'm sorry about that. But that's just how it goes.
Oh, wow.
If I have to play that role, I'm happy to do it. Sometimes you have to play the role that life hands you. And sometimes you have to hand that role back to life and say, no, thank you.
That's right.
No, thank you.
Well, that's called a quitter, honey. And at that point, I'd break your back and send you out the door walking without a check. So let's go back.
It doesn't mean quitting. It could just mean rejecting the terms of the game and making your own rules.
Oh, well, that's a bit of a heel too.
Yeah.
Renegotiating your future, much like you've done. You've gone from the ring to the bookstore and you've taken it like a champ. I wouldn't call you a quitter. I'd say that you're merely a brilliant refocuser.
Yeah.
That's such a baby face tactic, what he just did right there. You see what he did? He tried to empathize with you and build you up. That's what baby faces do.
Wow.
They never give up. They hustle. They got loyalty and they give respect.
Good to know. You know who our ultimate baby face is? Our wonderful audio editor, Dwayne. He's the ultimate baby face.
I would say Dwayne's probably the heel in the situation. Dwayne, no offense to Dwayne, but he just has a different mindset that I think keeps him from growing, and that makes him antithetical to what we do. And I would argue maybe we're tag team baby faces to Dwayne's overlording
Are you talking
position.
about Dwayne The Rock Johnson? Because he owes me $75. Is he in that bunker with y'all?
Oh no, Dwayne The Rock Johnson hasn't been in our bunker in quite a while, actually.
In a little while.
Who's Dwayne?
Our audio editor, he's fantastic. His name is Dwayne.
It's my brother-in-law.
Yeah, he's Seph's brother-in-law.
How big a boy is he? What's his height? What's his weight?
He's a tall boy.
What are we talking here? How stack of a water is he?
Height and weight. He's probably about 6 foot 200.
6'2", by God, we could work with that. 200 pounds, you said?
Yeah, no, 6 foot, probably about 6 feet even.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll say he's 6'4", and we'll call him the Mountain. How much does he weigh? How big a boy is he?
2 bills.
Yeah, probably about 2 bills large.
Oh, I'm liking the way we're stacking this. Okay. So what's he got? Does he have traps? What's he need to work on? He got a belly on him?
He doesn't really have any shoulders.
He has a very extensive knowledge of cartoons.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's a bit of a goofball, a little sneaker there. All right. He flat-footed? What's his deal? He got any missing toes?
He's surprisingly fast, although I've only seen him run once.
He has all of his toes.
Okay, can he jump? He a high flyer? What's his deal? He a ground tumbler? What's he like?
I think he can jump, but he's just not applying himself.
I think he chooses not to jump, in my opinion.
Well, I'll take him. Send him to the ranch. We'll get him built up.
Really?
You will take my brother-in-law and train him how to be a wrestler?
That could be useful.
Listen, honey, human beings are like houses, all right? They can all be flipped.
Ooh, I like this.
Oh, wow.
You take a house, it's wrecked, right? Someone's trashed the living room. They've gone in the kitchen. They've taken a by God dump. Can you believe it? This house is ruined. Someone smoked meth in the bathroom. The value has gone down. Ain't nobody want it, and it's in a tiny town that nobody wants to live in. So what do you do with that house? You take that house, you flip it, you make it better. What's that? Your teeth all crooked? Let's get you some braces, honey. What's that? You got a little fat in your belly? Guess what? We're going to put you on this stuff called Xenadrin. It's from the 1990s. It's from China. It's illegal in the U.S. now, but you can ship it, and you're going to take it all. And then when you're done with that, you're going to go do all my lawn work. You're going to take all those creepy gnomes out of the neighbor's yard, and we're going to go burn them together in the back 40. And then when we're done, we're going to do daily yard work for about 3 weeks until he's all good and jacked up. Then we're going to take Dwayne. We're going to put a little bit of gel in his hair, spike it up like the Miz, all right? We're going to take him. We're going to put him in front of a camera. We're going to say, Dwayne, who's that third grade teacher that you're always going on about? We're going to let him fucking spit. I'm sorry. Am I allowed to cuss?
Oh, please. Please be yourself.
We don't believe in censorship. And I just want to say I absolutely loved all of that. We are such strong believers that every facet of your being, you can improve. You can make it better in some way.
Change your eye color, honey.
So I think comparing home improvement to the improvement of the self I think that is a genius level move.
Well, that's what we're doing. We're all just houses trying to get flipped.
Yes.
And then every single partner, every relationship you make, whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent, whether you're a lover, all you're doing is trying to better them, take them, chip away the little parts of them that they like, but you think are stupid and ugly and not fun to look at. Make them aesthetically pleasing. Then you work on the inside. You send them to therapy a little bit. They cry it out. Oh, my mama didn't like me. She left me on the side of the road. I was out of Piggly Wiggly. Well, guess what? It's because you got a poor attitude. That's why she did that. Once you cope with that, you fix that damn attitude, you go find yourself someone who likes it. And then before you know it, you're thriving, honey. Everyone's a house that can be flipped. The market's going up. Let's take advantage of that and sell ourselves. Why not?
How inspiring. I mean, I could listen to you for years.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, if you need a realtor, give me a call because I do that too. I settle mortgages and I'll buy out your home once you've ruined it and destroyed it so I can fix it up just like I do your sons and daughters.
Wow. Hey, we may take you up on that offer. We're always looking for real estate.
Absolutely. And just remember, you can always spray paint abs on a pig and it still looks like a pig with abs. People buy that. That's some good pork.
That's true.
Next question.
Fantastic. Okay, the next question is that your book had a list in it that we absolutely loved. It was called 102 Random Objects You Can Throw at Their Face.
Excellent.
I was just curious. It had some really interesting choices on there. There were some, maybe obvious ones like a chair or a stapler. There were some non-obvious ones out there, like a dachshund or
a wiener dog.
A wiener dog or an entire block of Wisconsin cheddar. I'm just curious, the 102 random objects you can throw at their face, were these all objects that in your personal history you used, and then through experience you've determined these are the 102 best objects to throw at someone in a fight?
I believe that each object represents a life hurdle. Okay.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Oh, good. I'm glad you love that. Look around your rooms right now. Look at something in your rooms. I see one of y'all has a pillow there behind you.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
when you look at that pillow, that's soft, right?
Yeah.
If you're
It
gonna
is soft.
if you're gonna throw it at someone's face, is that going to be effective?
It's a blue pillow, so it's actually got about 50% more blueness than the last time we talked about it.
Whether that pillow hurts someone depends on my intention. If my intention is to comfort them or to make them laugh, then perhaps that is the right object to throw at them.
That is a good point.
But if I'm defending against an attack, I might not use that. For example, I also have a wooden carving of a dolphin on my table.
Oh.
Now, see, that's perfect. That is
Yeah.
perfect because what I hear when I hear wooden dolphin, I think hard fish.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, fish ain't supposed to be hard, but neither is life.
Yeah.
So when life is throwing something hard at you, you throw something hard at it, honey.
Yeah.
So I'd take that dolphin, I'd sling it at my enemy's face, bust their orbital bone right open. That's what happens when you talk shit.
Wow, that's true. I mean, wow. I have a microphone in front of me. I could use this. It'd be a very expensive choice to make.
Oh, you could put that in so many different spots, honey. You could shove that right up a couple of different orifices, shut some people up. Because the thing is, you're not just trying to hit someone on the outside. You want to hit them on the inside.
That's true.
That means sometimes you got to, you might have to take a blade, tape it to your wrist, and, give them a little color. That's another industry term, giving them color, making them bleed. Sometimes people need to bleed to remember they're human. And when they're acting like little weirdos out there, like they ain't got no souls, you got to cut them up. So I say look for something sharp. I see in the back there, one of y'all's got a hula hoop. What's that about? Why not wrap some barbed wire around it? Let's go ahead and do that. Let's force them to hula hoop with barbed wire and then give them a fantastic metaphor like, hey, that's what it feels like to be me.
Wow.
Maybe you can gain understanding using these objects.
That totally makes sense. Part of my feng shui philosophy is that I believe in always having a certain number of perfect circles in my environment within 20 feet of me at all times. And so the hula hoop is just one example of that. There are others in my environment.
It's funny you say that because I try to keep Maynard James Keenan behind me at festivals. Yep. I agree 100%. A perfect circle should always be around you.
I think that's a very good point. Recently you were on Oprah's book club, okay? And you did a reading. However, it got completely out of hand. One of your major nemesis actually showed up to the reading that you were doing, and you fought them on live television. Mm-hmm. How did you manage to finish that fight and still do a great reading?
Yeah, that was impressive.
Well, that was a tough one because you always look forward to your special day. You just finished threatening Oprah. She's finally giving in. You're finally getting everything you want. And then before you know it, Darla comes in and she's got to start her mess because I didn't bail her out of jail quick enough. And she called me 3 times from county, but I told her there's only so many times you can steal an owl and debone it on the side of the highway before the state patrol is going to put you into federal prison because you're messing with wildlife. And that ain't cool. And I don't care how hungry she was. So when I just abandoned her in county that day, she'd had enough. She looks back on past wrestling debts and thinks that just because I didn't pay her for that one time at the same Moose Lodge when she broke her corn bone, and I didn't pay her because she wasn't fully insured. She thought that she could come back at me and ruin my special day. And that's when I said, you know what, honey, guess what? Today's not your day. I took Oprah's scarf right off her and I choked that young woman in front of Miss Oprah, just like I was making a sacrificial lamb for Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And if you think about it, Oprah is the Lord and Savior for many women in my age bracket. So for me, it was a defining moment watching the life leave Darla's eyes. Now, she did wake up a couple hours later. She does not remember who she is or that we have a debt. So I'd say overall, this was a successful moment that really elevated me to be able to launch my new book and just make up a whole mess of lies about her that she can't contest because she doesn't remember nothing.
Yeah, it was very impressive.
I mean, I made her petechial hemorrhage. I was looking down at her, telling her that, this is it, bitch. And she just ended. Her whole life left her. And then she came back and everything's fine. Now we're friends again. It really worked out in the end.
That just goes to show how quickly things can turn around. You can turn a friend into an enemy or an enemy into a friend. It can absolutely happen.
100%.
Yeah, you can turn a brawl into a beautiful book reading with just a simple can-do attitude and a little bit of resourcefulness and a scarf.
Yeah, and position it. And it's all about just always be behind the people you want to take down, too. Don't come at them from the front because they can see that. That's something a lot of people don't know.
That's true. You know, I want to dive into something, and this is a little tawdry, so if it's too much, we can always edit this out. You can let us know.
Tawdry's what I named my second son.
Oh, wow. It's a beautiful name.
Perfect.
There were some rumors that the now deceased Paul Bearer, the famed wrestling manager of Undertaker and Kane.
Oh, Percy Pringle.
That's right. The rumors are that he was obsessed with you. Is that true? And can you give us a little bit of the backstory there?
You know, he was real obsessed with me. That is 100% true. That obsession actually came from a bloodletting ceremony that we met at in the back of the woods at a church camp when we were younger kids.
Oh.
And, you know, after that ceremony, he was forever indebted to my soul by the devil. So for him, it was more of like an eternal bond.
Sure.
Yeah.
For me, it was just a summer at Alto Frio that I'll never forget. And I remember getting to climb a rock wall, getting to try vanilla bean ice cream for the first time, and that bloodletting ceremony in the woods. I remember that real well. But the thing about Percy is he was married to the business.
Really?
And I just didn't want to hang out with a tall ginger fella and a stack of dead ashes my whole life.
Yeah.
I'd already spent a couple of years doing it. It was boring. So, you know, I had to tell him, I said, Percy, you know, it's a number of things. It's the fact that I've recommitted my life to Jesus Christ. I'm no longer catering to you and your little devilish schemes from the woods back then. And also, you're too fat. And I just told him I ain't attracted to fat man.
You've got to be honest. You've got to be straightforward.
It's important to be honest. You have to be honest about not just your intentions, but what you like, what you want, and your true desires. When you aren't authentic about those, it only causes problems. That's what I've found.
100%. I believe in authenticity all the way. And I do think that a lot of people forget the art of body shaming. They think that body shaming is a bad thing. I'm fat. I can recognize. I look at myself every day in the mirror and I say, oh, you fat bitch, I hate you. But you know what it does? It makes me stronger. It makes me better.
So you do believe in self-shaming?
Oh, 100. Self, others, mainly others. Yeah. I really like to shame others.
Mainly others.
I like to go, oh, look at her big old head over there trying to get in that door. I love looking at other people and taking all their faults and just kind of focusing on that and drilling it into their head until they change it. And I believe that's how we should live our lives for ourselves and others.
Now, we don't necessarily condone on You But Better body shaming. However, that being said, I do like to say that sometimes it takes a flamethrower to light a candle.
Well, I would say to you, is it fair to shame the shamer?
I
mean, as a body shamer, I have rights. I was born this way. I was born being ignorant and rude to people. I was born with a poor attitude. So who are you to inflict upon me your positive attitude and try to change me when I'm just trying to be who I am? As a body shamer, I believe that people need to stop shaming me about being a body shamer, and they maybe need to start thinking that's a projection. Maybe they need to fix something in their house. Maybe their fireplace is a little dismantled because they let someone in who maybe wrecked it a bit. That ain't my fault. You need to fix your problems, honey.
That's a fair point.
That's fair, but do you ever consider that maybe in this thought experiment, you are shaming the shamer, and perhaps that's a shameful thing all around?
I completely agree with that.
Well, yes, honey. That is true, but then if I'm shaming the shamer, wouldn't they be shaming my shame? That's too many shame.
I would just like to bring up this fact that there is an important saying from the Buddha, which is that you can't shame the shameless.
That's true.
Yeah, but the Buddha was fat, honey.
Exactly my point.
Oh, well, you know, that's a hell of a point. I must say I agree with you. Touche, honey.
Kay, this has been incredible. We do have to ask you, though, because you brought up the religion and your spiritual path, we are huge on understanding the individual spiritual path. It's all different.
Yes.
It's different for all of us, whether we're talking about the Buddha, the Dalai Lama, Oprah. You recently became an ordained minister for the Church of the Cross-Faced Chicken Wing. What brought you there?
Well, I found there's so many religions
Yeah.
in the world. And it hit me like I could just start my own goddamn religion.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about it and I thought, there's a lot of money to be made in the church. Did you know they don't even tax them? They actually get to write it all off. And you could just take money. You could just make up a God, say, this is my God now. You guys like it? And if they do, they give you money so that you can keep talking about that God. So I said, man, you know what I really like? My favorite closing finisher, the crossface chicken wing. That should be a God. It is the best move. It's the best finisher. Why ain't it? Now, I always practice what I call shifting religions.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like the Shang Tsung of spirituality.
Oh.
I like to try a new one every month or two. So, I've been everything. I've been everywhere. I like to try everything. So I've been a Buddhist. I've been a Zoroastrianist. That was kind of weird. I spent a little bit of time as a Catholic. I converted to Judaism for my fourth husband. I've done every single religion. But you know what? I never felt free. And I never felt like I had no real spirit guide me until I saw that chicken wing. And it guided me right out of the ring because I was in the middle of being choked out when I saw this, Lord. And I said to myself, oh, this needs to be something everybody can look at. It's almost like the lights went out in Georgia. So what I did was I basically drew a cool picture on a little program called Procreate, my iPad, and I said, this is the crossface chicken wing God. I put it on the internet. I took everything I learned from wrestling and I applied that. Took advantage of a whole ton of marks who just want some new merchandising because they wouldn't get nothing out of the current products on television. And I said, here's your Lord now. And they said, thank you, Miss Kay. And they supported me and they supported that God. And I've ordained myself as the lead minister and pope of the church. And I've made $22.4 million off of it to help fund my crypto scheme. So I do believe that the Lord is righteous and that if you build it, they will come and they will support your God. So, I highly recommend starting your own religion if you ever get the opportunity. It teaches you a lot about yourself and about other people's enlightenment and how much money they'll spend on it.
Yeah, that is true. It definitely worked for Elrond, not the elf from Lord of the Rings, the other one who lived in Los Angeles. But we do believe here at You But Better that when it comes to spiritual matters, I always like to say that some people are satisfied with a nice steak, but others of us are not free until we eat from the buffet.
That's right.
Oh, I like that. I do love buffets. You guys ever been to that Golden Corral?
Oh, absolutely. I've been. I like to sample from all parts of culture because I believe that culture is a buffet.
I like to harass the meat cutter. I like to walk up to whoever the guy is with the little chef hat, the meat section.
Yeah.
And I say, are you happy where you are in your station in life? And he usually says, no, ma'am. He's usually a big old boy. And then I take him to the ring and I teach him how to be a wrestler.
That's fantastic. It is so important, in my opinion, to challenge people who have a look in their eyes like they need to be challenged.
Oh, absolutely. And I go to any Golden Corral, I see a meat cutter boy with a chef hat on, and I say, boy, you need to be challenged. And I walk up to him, I give him a whole mess of hell.
You know what, Kay? It sounded a little, when you described your religion, it sounded a little bit like you taking advantage of some people. But whenever I hear you talking about finding these larger men and finding their purpose for them in the wrestling ring, that sounds like a service to me.
Well, isn't that what taking advantage of someone is? It's giving them a service they don't even know they needed. I mean, it seems like taking advantage, but in the end, they learn a lesson, don't they?
It sounds to me like what that really is that's enlightenment.
Wow.
It is. I'm making you better by putting obstacles in front of you that you can't get behind, possibly ripping you off, and then you learn not to go back to someone who's going to make you big promises that they cannot fulfill.
Wow, that is...
I'm making you boys emotional calluses. You should all be thanking me as far as I'm concerned.
We are molded by everybody and every experience we have.
Every conversation we have molds us, and we are insanely grateful. You are definitely molding us. We are your instrument.
I appreciate that, and I ain't here to play you or nothing, but I'm telling you, by the time I'm done with you, you boys ain't going to have no mold on you. I'm going to go ahead and dry you out like a sack of weed. I'm going to turn you upside down and cure you two. I promise.
Wow.
That's excellent because I believe that mold is toxic.
That is a perfect segue to what has to be our final question. Kay, you've conquered so many arenas and you've seen so much. What is next for you?
I'm thinking that I might go find my buddy. He just got out of jail. Y'all might know him. He's called the Tiger King.
Oh,
I'm going to go look him up. I heard he's got some cats that he's trying to locate. I did work as a PI for a while. I am very interested in hunting down wild and exotic game. So I do think it would be fun to maybe go help him rile up some tigers and start back up his wonderful charity of trying to rehabilitate animals in the wilderness of Oklahoma. I was also considering perhaps moving to Florida
yeah.
and maybe running for a political office, because I believe that we need to get all kids out of school.
Wow.
My main goal is, I think enough of this banning words and, shaming kids for their, sexuality at a young age. I say let's just get them all out of school. Let's emancipate all Florida children from their parents. That's my next step. I want to take them to a farm and train them up, make them all real good wrestlers. That's my plan. All the kids of Florida.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I always say that the ultimate school is the school of life itself.
Yes.
It really is. I feel like I could teach him, especially because I got my friend Oprah there, and we all know she ran 2 very successful schools for young ladies, and I feel like I could do something very similar.
That's fantastic. And honestly, as long as your students have access to a large podcasting library, they can learn anything. Just a healthy dose of You But Better, maybe a few other supplemental ones. They will at least have their mindset right.
Exactly.
Ready to learn from the world that they're in.
We always say live an interesting life, go interesting places, and listen to You But Better. That's really the best education you can possibly have.
That's our holy trinity.
And it's interesting. That came right from the mouth of who I'm pretty sure is the second coming of Jesus. I feel like we need to point that out. That's the red letters, what you just said, honey.
Well, what we do definitely need to point out is that we do not want to get mired in this controversy again.
Yeah.
Lex is not Jesus Christ. He doesn't claim to be.
You are glowing.
The glowing is highly related to my completely optimized microbiome.
But why are your abs like that?
When you take the right probiotics and your skin is clear, it is amazing the changes you will see in your life.
It's immaculate.
So this is natural. You just got them ripped abs and you happen to be glowing golden and floating a little bit. That's your normal homeostasis is what you're telling me.
This is my homeostasis. What you're seeing is the result of biooptimization, meditation, journaling, supplementation, circling, emotional release.
Journaling.
Honey, you just described the Bible. This is all the Bible. My God, I think you're Jesus. I think you're the baby face.
You heard it here first, folks. Lex is a baby face. Possibly has a similar glow to Jesus. Definitely a similar glow to Drew Barrymore.
A similar glow. For legal reasons, we don't want to make any exaggerated claims here.
Yeah.
But that being said, I am flattered. Thank you very much.
Similar.
Kay Fabian, we are in love with you. We are in love with your spirit. We're wondering if you have any final
anything, Lord.
Because look, here's the real thing. As far as our podcast is concerned, everyone who comes on our podcast is a god. And you are a god in the ring and outside of the ring.
Yes.
Are you canonizing me right now, honey?
You have been canonized in the better universe.
Yes.
You are a god of the pod.
I'm St. Fabian.
You're pod god.
Everyone who comes on You But Better is a god of the pod.
I'm going to have to make a religious candle of you and put it up on Etsy, honey. I'm just so proud of you.
I would have my assistant Shaz buy that candle instantly.
Immediately, we would buy that candle.
Jesus has an assistant named Shaz.
My assistant is Shaz. He is absolutely excellent. His penmanship is incredible.
We're going to have to talk after this pod is over because I really think you might be Jesus. I understand that you might not be buying it, but I am also a genetic genealogist part-time, and I'd like to help you.
Got it. We'll get into it. We'll talk about it. Okay, Kay, we just want to know if there's any final words of advice you have for our better use, any parting words, any last little nugget to inspire them and help them become better use.
Any wisdom of the ring that they can bring into their everyday life.
I would advise everybody to carry a knife with a blade that's at least 4 inches on them at all times. Always be looking behind you. Make sure ain't nobody sneaking up behind you. That would probably be my top life advice for everybody.
Kay, there is nobody like you.
Yeah.
You are a true original, and we just have to thank you for showing us and showing our better yous just a completely different perspective to conquering life.
I'm happy to do it. I'm all about conquering life.
Better use all those links, including the list of random objects, will be in the show notes. Of course, get Kay's book. Kay, thanks so much. Let's talk about this Jesus stuff now.
Okay, so my question to you is, when you were born, did you have one of those Harry Potter scars? Do you have pictures of you? Can you see you, or are you like John Cena? What's going on here?
So when I was born, I didn't have a lightning bolt scar.
Not even on your corn bone?
No, I didn't have a lightning bolt scar on my corn bone. However, I do have a scar that resembles an ayahuasca plant.
Ayahuasca? That was a wrestler from the 80s.
Really?
Oh, really?
You, but better. Friends, thank you for listening and becoming a better you.
And if you haven't followed us on social media yet, you haven't fully committed. Find those social links in the episode description.
Also, please rate and review us on your podcast listening app. It helps more people find this podcast and become totally enlightened.
And remember, don't just be you, be
you, but better.